I'd like to call the meeting to order and advise that the meeting is being video recorded and live streamed. I ask if there's a disclosure of interest. As there is none, we have a resolution moved and seconded to adopt the agenda as revised with the following additions. Report 2025-173, revisions to the 2024 consolidated financial statements, and the Doan Grant Thornton report to members of council, audit strategy and results. Any discussion, any other changes or additions? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. So the first item we have is Rosie Breezy from Doan Grant Thornton, and she's going to take us through the audited 2024 financial papers.
Thanks very much. Thank you very much, Your Worship, council members. I do believe you have copies of the draft financial statements as well as our report to council. So I will take you through the draft statements and happy to respond to any questions, as I'm sure management will as well. First page of the financial statements you would have seen in the past. It's the Statement of Administrative Responsibility, where the CAO and the Treasurer Deputy CAO take responsibility for the financial statements on behalf of council, and indicate to your ratepayers and any users of the financial statements that you have had an opportunity to meet with us as your auditors. Pages 1 and 2 are the independent auditor's report. And again, you will notice that there is a qualified opinion. So you would have had a qualified opinion last year because you had not adopted the asset retirement obligation accounting standards as was required by the framework by Public Sector Accounting Board standards. The reason for this year's qualification just still relates to that. You have now adopted that standard. However, had you adopted it when it should have, there would have been a material difference in your 2023 numbers versus 2024. So we just have to qualify on the fact that your 2023 numbers might have looked different. You are caught up now at your balance sheet at December 31st, 2024. Is fine and is in accordance with the new standard, but because some of that should have happened in 2023 and it would have been material to your statements, we just have to qualify. And this will be the final year for that qualification. Other than that, though, other than the effects of that particular matter, these financial statements do present fairly in all material respects the financial position of the municipality, as well as the operations and cash flows for the year ended December 31st, 2024. Page 3 is your consolidated statement of financial position. So this is your balance sheet at December 31st, 2024. Your total financial assets at the end of the year, 7.99 million as compared to 9.1 million last year. Your cash balances are down from the previous year, just as a result of your accounts payable being lower at the end of the year, as well as your receivables being a little bit higher at the end of the year this year as compared to 2023. You'll note that taxes receivable are a little bit higher from your 2023 balances. Those have improved in 2025 in terms of collections of some of your old aged balances, as well as better collections on your current balances. Most of your 1.1 million in taxes receivable at the end of 2024 related to current and 1 year balances. Accounts receivable at the end of the year, $882,000. Most of that is NOHFC funding that was claimed subsequent to year end for expenses incurred in 2024 and has been since received, as well as your HST rebate, which has been received as well. User charges a little bit higher than last year, and that's just Norwest Rec ice rentals were up at December 31st as compared to 2023. And then your loan receivable has just gone down by virtue of the repayments, principal repayments in the year. Looking at your liabilities, $3.4 million versus $3.6 million in the previous year. Your accounts payable and accrued liabilities are down from the previous year, and that's just a function of timing. So your trade accounts payable were down, and that's just timing of invoices when they come in versus when they are paid. And your vacation accrual is down at the end of the year. Deferred revenue of $770,000. Most of that is made up of unspent gas tax proceeds, as well as your Parkland Reserve Fund is reported as deferred revenue because it's an obligatory reserve fund, as well as you have some Nords money this year that is unspent at the end of the year. Asset retirement obligations. So this is new this year, although you see a balance in the previous year. So the $921,000 that you see for 2023 was your old landfill liability under the old accounting standards. What you see this year, $855,000, is both your new landfill liability measured a little bit differently under asset retirement obligations, as well as a liability for anticipated future remediation of Roslyn Hall, asbestos related remediation. And that's a result of this new accounting standard. You had to evaluate that. What has happened with the recognition of this asset retirement obligation is your assets have increased by $800,000. This liability was recorded for just over $800,000. Last year, the liability that you had for your landfill was completely reversed. And we'll see the impact of that in your expenses because it was completely reversed to your environmental expenses. What will happen with your liabilities is they will accrete each year. So there will be a small increase each year to those liabilities to grow to the value that they will be when they are estimated to be remediated. So for landfills at the end of the estimated useful life of the landfill, and for the Roslyn Hall at the end of the estimated useful life of Roslyn Hall. So that liability will continue to grow each year. Your long-term debt, $1,033,000 versus $1,041,000 last year, and that's just a result of principal repayments. So your net financial assets, $4.5 million. Your tangible capital assets, $36.8 million. That's net book value. You had significant additions in the year for Kekabeka Village reconstruction work, other roads work. A grader was purchased. You made a deposit on fire vehicles that were received subsequent to year end. As I mentioned earlier, the adjustment for that asset retirement obligation added $800,000 to your asset balances. And then your amortization expense was $2.7 million. So that reduces that. So your total accumulated surplus, and we'll see the breakdown of that on Schedule 1 when we get there, $41.5 million. Looking at your revenues for the year, your total 2024 revenue, $13.7 million as compared to a budget of essentially $13.1 million. Taxation was just about right on budget, small increases for supplementaries, and your fees and user charges very close to budget. Where we see an increase is in your province of Ontario grants. So just based on the grants that were budgeted for and what was actually earned in the year. You had your OMPF funding in there, which was budgeted for. OSIP was about $550,000, $560,000 in revenue this year, and about $500,000 of NOHFC funding as well. Your penalties and late payment charges slightly higher this year, just as a result of the taxes receivables being somewhat higher, and your investment income significantly higher as a result of just the interest rates and the balances, cash balances in the bank. The next page, page 5, shows the expense side of your statement of operations. And I just want to note that there does have to be an adjustment to the budget figures in this. As I was preparing, I realized that we had taken out your reserve fund transfers twice instead of just once. So your budget figures actually will line up much more closely to the actuals once we correct that, that adjustment. So your general government, 1.638 actuals, the budget will be adjusted to $1.7 million. So you were just about right on budget with that. Protection of persons and property, the revised budget, the corrected budget will be $2.4 million with actuals at $2.1 million, $2.2 million. So just some savings along the way. There was no one significant item which reflected savings for you. Your transportation services adjusted budget will be $4.1 million versus $4.1 million actual. You're just about on budget with respect to that. Environmental services budget will be adjusted to $792,000. The actual is showing a negative of 188 because of the reversal of last year's landfill liability. That whole reversal comes into your expense line. So had that not happened, this would actually show an actual expenditure figure of about $700,000. And that's a one-time adjustment. It will not happen again in the future. Your health services, $1.3 million versus $1 million budget. Ambulance and health unit costs, levies were higher than what you had budgeted for. Rec and cultural, the adjusted budget will be 1.15 million. Once we adjust for those reserve fund transfers versus an actual of $1.4 million. So some slight increases over budget in your salaries lines and expenses. And then planning and development, $226,000 versus $209,000 budget. So your net revenue, $1.9 million. You had a small loss on disposal of tangible capital assets. So you did have disposal of certain vehicles in the year. One of those vehicles was not fully amortized yet. So that's why you're showing a loss. Even though you sold it, you were able to sell that vehicle and you had proceeds from the sale. It hadn't been fully amortized. So you're showing a loss on that. That gives you an annual surplus for PSAP purposes of $1.9 million. We add that to your opening accumulated surplus of $39 million, and that gets us your ending accumulated surplus of $41.5 million. The next page just is the statement of changes in net financial assets. That just reconciles to the net financial asset figure that we see on the statement of financial position. And the consolidated, which I just want to note, you're in a positive position, which is good, because what that means is you have more financial assets than you have financial liabilities. So from a liquidity standpoint or a working capital standpoint, it's positive. The next page is your statement of cash flows, and this provides you with information about the sources and uses of cash to the municipality in the year and reconciles to your cash balances at the end of the year. With respect to the notes to the financial statements, most of them remain the same and they're similar to previous years, but I'm just going to bring your attention to a couple of the notes that are new. Page 8 is the adoption of new standards note. So this just discusses the impact of the adoption of your asset retirement obligations. So when you look at the chart in the middle of the page, you'll see that there was an increase to the carrying amount of your tangible capital assets of $805,000, increase to your asset retirement obligation of $805,000, and then the adjustment for your landfill closure and post-closure liability. So we decreased it by $921,000, and then your expense was decreased by $921,000. There is also a new note with respect to asset retirement obligations. That is on page 18. It's note 10. And this note will carry forward in your financial statements. So we're on page 18. And it shows the opening balance as previously reported under the landfill liability standard of 921, the removal of that, liability of $921,000, the first time adoption of PSAS standard 3280, and then accretion expense. So this is the expense. This is 2 years worth of expenses. This is 2023 and 2024. And what you will see is an accretion expense each year as that obligation or that liability grows, likely for about half of that. So generally speaking, you'll see about $25,000 a year of that liability growing. And if there is a change in your estimated costs in the year because of changes in assumptions or interest rates, you would have an adjustment for that as you move forward. And then that 855 is the liability that we see on the statement of financial position. I'll take you next to Schedule 1, which is on page 28, which is your consolidated schedule of accumulated surplus. So you'll see your total surpluses are $34.5 million. And you'll note there is a general fund deficiency, which is not what you normally see in your municipality. Usually that's in a surplus position. That's in a deficiency because you undertook projects in the year for which you had anticipated long-term debt proceeds, which you didn't incur in the year. So that 433 is the net of what your operations surplus would have been and what essentially would be a capital fund deficiency or a capital fund deficit as a result of not having incurred, not having gone out to get the long-term debt proceeds to finance those projects. Looking at your reserves at the end of the year, $5.1 million versus $7.1 million in the previous year, and you utilized your reserves for various capital projects and purchases in the year. And your reserve funds relatively stable at $1.8 million versus $1.9 million, almost $2 million in the previous year. Again, some of those funds being used in the year for capital projects. So your accumulated surplus at the end of the year, $41.5 million. And then Schedule 2 just provides you with information about more detail about your capital assets by category. And again, some different lines this year as a result of the adoption of asset retirement obligations. You'll see that there is a line. You have your regular additions at $4.9 million. And then you have the impact of the revaluation of tangible capital assets. You do have disposals in the year. And then you'll see there's an adjustment to both your cost and your accumulated amortization, just moving balances over to match your citywide. The net difference is very minimal. It's $4,000, but it's just moving them to match your citywide categorization. Your worship, I'll turn it back to you.
Yes. First of all, I'm glad you found that $1 million because I went over the income and the expense and the reserves, and I'm out $1 million. And now you found the expense from 12 to 11. So there's my $1 million.
There you go.
I said, wait a minute, that doesn't balance out. So I appreciate that. Your question that leaves me then is on page 15, you have investment high interest on account. Nowhere could I find what a return on our investment is on that high interest account. You don't separate out from anything, do you?
No, that is incorporated in your investment income.
I felt it was in there, but
Yes.
I thought it'd be nice to know what kind of return we got on that high interest account. You see, that's all. And maybe you know that.
So for last year on the high interest savings with one investment, it was approximately 3%.
3%? Okay. Yeah, that's all. I mean, you found me my $1 million. So.
There you go.
Any other questions? Councillor Peacock?
Thank you, Rosie. At the end of the day, where do we stand?
So at the end of the day, you have an operating deficit in your operating deficit of $433,000, which, and I don't want to speak for management, I'm happy to have your treasurer speak to that, which was anticipated because of the fact that you did not take out the debt for the projects that were undertaken, primarily your Kekabeka Village reconstruction.
Mhm.
Yeah, in the budget, we'd anticipated 1.6 million from Infrastructure Ontario for the Kakabeka Village paving, plus an additional amounts for the fire trucks. We did the Kakabeka Village project. We paid for it out of our own cash. We are going to get the financing from Infrastructure Ontario in the next little bit, but so as a result last year. So that money essentially came out of reserves, but we'll get the money from the loan. It will go back into restock our ship, if you will.
Okay, all righty, thank you. Then we have.
Your worship and council members, I'll just speak very quickly to the report. I think it's fairly self-explanatory. Just reporting that the status of our audit, we will finalize the auditor's report upon approval of the financial statements by council. We have a final discussion with your management to make sure there haven't been any subsequent events that might have occurred that would change these financial statements. And then just receipt of the legal letter response. We go on to talk about our audit risks and where we focus our attention and the significant transactions, which I've already spoken to in terms of the asset retirement obligations and your capital expenditures. We talk about the significant risks in the file and how we approach them. And then really just wanting to bring your attention to the uncorrected misstatement at the end of the year, which is on page 8 of the report. And it's just a difference between your subledger for your taxes receivable and the GL. So that's an uncorrected misstatement at year end. As you bring that into alignment in the current year, not material to the financial statements. So there has been no adjustment made with respect to that. We do have appendices attached to the report, which speak to upcoming accounting and auditing standards. But more importantly, Appendix E is the internal control letter, which would read similarly to previous years with respect to segregation of duties. And just making sure that all of you as council members are aware of the risk and what your mitigating compensating controls or mitigating controls are around that. Very common in organizations of your size. That you can't have a perfect segregation of duties scenario in your accounting and finance department.
Again, were there any questions of council in regards to this report? It does note in here there's the fraud risk factor considerations too, which is kind of interesting to read. But we all are in that position. Every organization is, so. I'd like to thank you very much, yourself and your employees that have done all this work for us, and you do it every year again and again, and we see you come back. One of these days we're going to see a stranger walk through this door. Not yet, though.
Wow.
See, she didn't respond. Thank you very much, Rosie, for coming.
Have a great day.
Yeah, and thank you to your organization as well.
Yeah, I apologize, your worship. I should have mentioned Ryan Gabriel, who's the manager on this engagement, is on vacation this week. He did offer to come in, but I told him I would try to handle it.
Oh, you did a very terrific job. No, that's okay. We're all allowed to have a vacation. Okay, thank you. I believe that the gentlemen for the Elemental Energy Wind Farm are in the hallway because they poked their head out a few times and left again because they didn't want to interrupt the reporting. So I think they are there. There we go. Good morning. Just come forward here and after you've signed your way in. John is going. You're all right. Okay, there's still a seat here if you'd like to come forward, or you're the next one.
Yeah.
Now I recognize you. It's okay. Thank you. I would like to thank Patrick and Dan for coming this morning, and we leave the floor open to you in regards to your presentation.
Good morning. Good morning, Mayor and Council. Thanks so much for hosting us here today. We're here again to talk about the Murillo Wind Project and provide an update and sort of our next steps on the project and our request from Council. I'm Dan Eaton. I'm Vice President of Development with Elemental Energy. I'll talk more about the company, but first just let Patrick introduce himself.
I'm Patrick Gillette. I'm from CRD Energy. I am the consultant to Elemental Energy.
Thank you.
Great. Well, I'll be flipping through this presentation I believe you all have in front of you. Great. Yeah, so just introducing first the sort of project and the ask. So we are developing the Murillo Wind Project for the upcoming ISO energy procurement. And today we're seeking a municipal support resolution from the municipality of Oliver Papunj to support the project's proposal to be submitted into the ISO energy procurement LT2 window 1. And we've got a map here of just sort of the project area, but I'll get into much more detail in the presentation with maps and visuals. So again, about our company, we're a Vancouver-based renewable energy development company. We're privately held Canadian business. The business began in 2008, and our focus is renewable energy development, and we really focus on places where we think the energy is needed most. And we've got a team to execute on the projects. We develop wind, solar, hydro, and battery storage projects primarily across Canada. And we're really focused on building partnerships and trust and long-term being good neighbors in the communities that we work in. The next map might be a little hard to see, but it's just our portfolio of development and operating projects. The yellow projects are solar, the blue projects are wind, and then there's one lone green hydro project in British Columbia and a couple grayed out projects in the United States that we've actually exited from and no longer are part of. So as you can see, we've got projects from coast to coast, a glaring missing kind of middle in Ontario, and hoping to put another dot on the map with this the project we'll be talking about today. But yeah, really, we're here to talk about a wind project, but we, as you can see from the map, have done a lot of different renewable energy types, and we don't necessarily pick favorites. We like them all, but we pick sort of the best project for the situation. So on to the next slide. So today we're here because the Ontario, after a long period of Ontario being a quiet market in our industry, the ISO in Ontario has signaled the need for additional power, and they've announced that they're running multiple competitive procurement processes to obtain approximately 14,000 gigawatt hours of power. And this first window that we're talking about here is for 3,000 gigawatt hours of power. And if you just thought about that in wind turbines or wind, it would be about 1,000 megawatts of wind power. So this project would be a small fraction of that, but we'll likely see different types of power projects. They're not technology exclusive. They're looking for various types of energy, and proponents can put forward the best projects they think will be most well received. Some notable RFP requirements. Proponents have to have prior experience developing, financing, and building projects. And as you can see from our map, we do have that. Our company does everything from starting the project out from scratch, taking it through development, financing the projects, and building them, and then operating them long term. So we have a lot of experience in our portfolio. Projects need to be sited to avoid specialty crop areas, which I can confirm is the case for the project we're discussing today. And if we are on private lands, we need a municipal support confirmation where we're from the municipality within the project's jurisdiction. So to even put forward a proposal, we would need to get this municipal support resolution. The timeline hasn't changed since we last first introduced this. So really the next timeline milestone is the October 16th RFP deadline, which is coming fast. And then after that, the ISO will do a review and evaluation of all proposals and notify selected proponents next spring, target April 2026. And the projects need to be in commercial operations by 2030. So it's a long process from here. And I do want to emphasize that you'll see through some of the process slides, it's quite a lengthy process. As it should be. These are large projects. The next project is next slide is a bit about the project. So again, just a dot on the map, but again, we'll get into more details, but just at a high level, an original developer started developing the project in 2008, identifying this region as having good potential for a wind project, primarily due to the wind resource and the transmission, proximity to transmission and willing hosts to host the project. So Gilead executed option agreements with local landowners. They put up meteorological towers, which are critical to confirming the resource viability of the site. And which is great because it means that work's largely done. And they were not successful in getting in these procurement processes. So the project didn't go forward, and also there was a transmission capacity shortage in the area. We purchased the project back in 2016 at a time when there were still transmission shortages in the area. But since that time, the new line construction, including the Waasigan line, has opened up capacity in the area for new project development. And the ISO in their procurement has actually signaled a desire to have projects in what they call the north of the province. And so we're really excited about that. And so we've restarted these development activities for the project. The next slide is about just how we approach. So we've done some additional work since we were here last. It really was at an introductory stage. We've signed up land since this time and now have a better idea of the site. And now we're getting into more of the preliminary design of the site. Again, this is early stage, but our guiding philosophy to designing a site is really to site infrastructure to minimize impacts to people and the surrounding environments, and follow regulations, of course, which there are several, as well as capturing the strongest wind resource for the site and laying it out in a way that's most easy to build. The layout process is first desktop studies and field work to identify land use information, including what we call receptors. So, houses, buildings, places where you could have buildings in the future, other infrastructure in the environment or in the surrounding area, environmental features and site conditions. We look at setbacks and constraints determined in local municipal plans, the renewable energy approval regulation, and other resources and best practices. And then we overlay all those constraints on the kind of project area of lands we've either signed up or are seeking from the Crown, and then look at the area that's actually suitable for development. And on the right-hand side, there's a table of key constraints, I'd say. They're not all the constraints, as you'll see on a subsequent slide. There's a lot more than just these ones, but these tend to be the governing ones. And I'm happy to pause because there may be questions on the maps. So feel free to ask questions if you want to as we go. So this is the first slide is just a level set on the area. So this is showing mine's black and white, so I can't remember which color is which, but the private lands and the Crown lands are in a legend. So about half the site is on private land and about half the site is Crown land. So on private land, you need land agreements with landowners that want to host the project. And on the Crown land, we have to make a submission, a Crown land site report to the Crown seeking sort of a letter of authorization to propose those lands. And so we've made that submission, and we'll get hopefully, if our submission was good, we'll get a letter soon to submit with our bid. But the general sort of lay of the land is, I mean, this is a really basic slide just to show, Highway 102, where the site intersects with the highway, where the transmission line is. And one of the things we really like about sites like this is access to get onto the site, and access to transmission line, and a place to connect. The ISO has published maps saying which transmission lines can host how much capacity, basically how much we can plug in at that point. And that kind of governs the size of the project. They've indicated 75 megawatts. So that's our plan, is to connect to this 115 kilovolt line that goes right through the site, and then access the site from the highway. And then you'll see a bit more on a subsequent slide about the rest of the kind of footprint of the infrastructure. The next slide is really to give an idea of how much work goes into these, dots on a map, if you will, with where turbines may go. So it's hard to read probably in the legend. There's a lot of sort of features overlaid on sites like this. And then really what it's trying to highlight is what's left over at the end for actually putting turbines. And as you can probably see from the initial, I think it's about just under 3,000 acres, you're left with a pretty small footprint to put turbines. So things like setbacks from homes, there's very strict noise regulations in Ontario, which tends to push things, very far from sort of buildings and vacant lots. There's things like radio communication systems that have sort of links through the site. There's lot line setbacks. There's setting back from water courses, water bodies. And I will say these constraints are also preliminary. So I don't want to sound like nothing's sort of advanced, but really at this stage, this is, desktop level mapping, and a lot of this has to be field verified.
Councillor Campoff?
Yeah, just a quick question for clarification. So your proposal is to only access a site from Highway 102?
That's our current plan.
Okay, so not using any of our municipal.
That is our current plan,
Okay.
yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, and then, like I say, I don't want to sound again like it's so preliminary, but these assumptions still have to be vetted and the design has to be advanced, but that is our plan, yes.
Yes.
I would just going to add in, we still need to do a RIA on this, so everything can change, like not, this is a good first start. But as the RIA goes through its process, considers the socioeconomic and the environmental, certain things will need to be around and change. That's just as we go through that process.
Okay, Councillor Viss?
Yeah, just to make sure I'm clear what we're doing. Previous page, you've shown a very small area where you put, are you considering this whole area? Because this area is 7 miles by about 4 miles.
This is the area, yes. Yeah, I think on the last one, we just had sort of a box of where it'd be generally, but we didn't.
Looked at the preview on this very small area, then I looked at this, it said, about 7 miles by 4 miles. Okay, as long as you understand where we're going, okay?
Yeah, I don't have it in terms of miles on this map, but it looks like 1 kilometer.
Where miles, either road here, that's where you come, I think that's where you come out at the mile, if you line you got
2, 3, 4. So I think this,
Up
yeah, I
top.
think that's right, because it shows the kilometer on the side here. You see that? That's the kilometer.
Okay,
So if you
then
go
we'll
from
put
side to
one
side, that's
Okay.
a little smaller, but yeah, I mean, you do need, and we'll show you, the next slide has sort of the turbines on it, but you can, and I think we had I think we had a bit of a discussion around that last time, just about sort of why we need the space we need. And maybe that's a good segue into the next layout, or the next slide, which is the preliminary layout again. And really what we wanted to just show is, as kind of, the black line is like the blank canvas of lands we're considering. And what we need is a certain amount of spacing between the turbines to allow for, to minimize what we call wake interactions or wake losses between the machines. So each machine has to be a certain distance from the next machine so that it doesn't first lose too much energy to capture because there's energy extracted from the wind. It recovers over a short distance, but we have to have enough space to allow that recovery. And then the second is if you're too close, you can cause large loading on the machines because the air is quite turbulent. So you can really, I think the spacing here is, I want to say it's about, we say like 5 rotor diameters. Typically we look at the diameter of machine and then we have a multiple of that. So I think it's about 800 meters sort of rough spacing between most of the machines. Thereabouts, it sort of ranges. And actually, I'd say this spacing that you see is a very typical spacing for our sector. Some sites might have slightly smaller, but if you had a site that had endless amounts of land, we also see larger spacing than that.
So I count 13
Yes.
at this time. Things may change. But
Yes. So we're assuming a 5.9 megawatt machine. And so 13 times 5 is 76.7 megawatts. That's the current size, and we can inject 75 into the grid. So yeah, it can change. We haven't selected a final turbine at this stage. We're just making initial assumptions. That's another sort of more detailed design phase question. What we've seen in the past is that turbines capacities individually have been getting bigger. So it could be that there's less ultimately. There's a slight chance there could be more, but probably not much if we win for this proposal.
And Dan, you can correct, sorry. Dan, you can correct me, but it's 3 acres. The footprint of each individual project is 3 acres.
Each turbine, yeah. So even though the site is quite large, overall it's about 2.5 acres per turbine. And so you don't have to have the whole site used. Yeah.
Yeah, just,
Okay.
so like it's spread over, I think the Crown Lands was 1,100 acres. So that's that segment up on to the
West.
northwest, and so the whole, that's probably about, I'm guessing about 3,000 acres, give or take. With each turbine taking 3 acres spread over the entire area. So the nice thing about the big machines is they're really far apart. The footprint of the individual lands being used still hasn't changed that much as 3 acres. But there's much more distance from one another using a larger piece of land. So it's not like the old wind farms.
And I put in actually, not to jump around too much, but I put in a couple supplemental slides. And if you look, there's one near the end where it says Project Profile Higgins Mountain. And I talked about this one last time, but since that time, we've started putting up turbines. So this is drone photos from about a week ago. Yeah, so I thought that might be helpful context. It's a similar kind of forested site. And you can see the turbines in the distance that are already up. And then this one shows kind of the footprint of what one machine would look like, both from sort of, we call it a crane pad and laydown area. You can see why we need those acres is not actually the turbine or the foundation. It's really to get the equipment in, because these cranes and the blades now are just massive. So you have to clear an area to allow for that construction to take place. But ultimately, at the end of the day, you're not using up a lot of the site. There's a lot of space in between for sort of existing land use or just environmental protection and management. Good questions. So that's the layout piece. Again, very preliminary, could change, but as you can kind of see, it's sort of just spread out between the footprint that's been signed and nicely sizes to the capacity that we're looking to inject into the grid. The next slide is a little bit about what the project consists of. So on that slide, we admittedly just show the turbines. We haven't done kind of the interior road designs, but there's roads that connect the turbines and some of these other, this slide talks to some of the other pieces. So between the turbines, there's access roads, and really those are just, roads that they're fairly robust sort of gravel roads. And again, the reason for that is mostly because when we install the turbines, we need to get very large cranes in. So they're sort of bigger than you need to just drive a pickup truck, but it's primarily because of how heavy the construction is. There's collector lines, so basically collect the energy from each turbine and bring it to a central substation. So that substation takes medium voltage electricity, steps it up to the grid voltage. So 34 for the technical people out there, you go from 34.5 kilovolts to 115 kilovolts, and that goes straight to the ISO. And that's the main parts of it. There it also doesn't say on here, but there's typically not necessarily an operations and maintenance building on site. There can also be ones in town. Sometimes when you've got good proximity to a town, it makes sense to have it offsite. But I'd say more commonly see them on site, and that's helpful because there's multiple people on there at all times to service the project full time. So service technicians. Yeah, we already talked about the size of the project, but just to level set how much energy a 75 megawatt project produces, it's roughly 30,000 homes of electricity production. So these are pretty significant in terms of the energy they produce. And we did speak to the sort of acreage per turbine. And again, it's just around a couple % of the total project area. So yes, we need a lot of land, but we actually only need a small amount for the actual machines themselves. Nice thing about the site is, and this is rare, I'd say, for projects, is because the transmission line goes right through the property, we don't need to run a big transmission line to get to the grid. So it's easier, it's less environmental impact, it's certainly less visual impact. There's not a big new transmission line build out. So we like that it's a self-contained design. And then the expected wind turbine specifications. Nowadays, you see turbines from about 5 megawatts to 7 megawatts, and we've designed this with about a 6 megawatt machine, so it's roughly in the kind of mid-range. The hub height, so the height between the bottom and we call the hub is like the center point of the rotor. Those range between 100 meters and 125 meters typically, and the blade lengths range from 80 to 90 meters. And yeah, those are the most modern blades we see out there. 90 would be on the upper end of what we've seen for onshore sites, but we expect that turbines will get to that size. Getting into the next slide, this is more about the process. So we are very early stage at this point, and we talked about the ISO deadline. And then if we are selected as preferred proponent, this is meant to sort of illustrate the key steps from that point on. So the RIA process, which Patrick talked about, is sort of provincially mandated process to get these projects approved. Very rigorous, comprehensive process. So that we'd expect that to take a couple years. And municipal permitting can proceed in parallel with that process. And that's something we'd have to talk more about how that would work, but it would sort of fit in that as well. We would start construction either late 2028 or 2029, and then we would be looking at a 2-year build. So, 18 months to 2-year build. So in Canada, we typically see 2 construction seasons. Season 1 is really getting that, we call it like civil focus. So getting our roads done, getting our crane pads built. And that can take a while. You need to get that all set up because once you deliver the machines, everything has to be ready and perfect. So typically we want to have that done the year prior so that once the winter is done, the thaw is done, we can go hard ground, good roads, and these big turbines show up. We don't have a bunch of cranes waiting around. So everything has to be perfect. And then that second year you do, all your electrical work, your turbine installation, and then, turbine installation itself actually doesn't take very long. Well, I say that it typically would take about 6 months or less to install the turbines. Say it like this, maybe 4 months. So a lot of it's actually not turbine installation.
Just out of curiosity, how many people would be required to put up one of these? Like, you've got
So one turbine or
yeah,
or the whole site?
the whole site.
Yeah. So typically, at peak construction, we typically see about 150 people on site. So it's a pretty significant construction site. Each turbine might be, I'd say I was just at a turbine going up. So I'd say about 20 people and a bunch of onlookers like us. It's pretty cool to see, you've got, you got the crane operator who's a very key person, people that are sort of making sure everything's going up properly. And then you got the people receiving the components up tower, which is a job I would never want to do. It's quite an operation.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, just kind of curious. Councillor Peacock?
Thank you. With regard to the majority of the land, by the look of the map that we have, it's Crown land. So is it the government that gives you permission to use the Crown land, and yet it's the government that's approving the project? Yes, no?
Well, different departments,
Yeah.
different
Okay.
ministries, so. How the land, I had to do the report for Elemental on this, so, the Crown Land Site Report process has been around for about 25 years. Every iteration, the M&R modifies it. What they've asked us to do now is identify the lands. In this case, it's all unpatented Crown land, so, and it falls under general use. And other than mining claims, and we've talked to the claim owner, and they're fine with the project going forwards. And there is a planned potential harvest in the area, so the forestry side of it, they're fine with it also. So that we'll have to discuss about roads and access and all that. And all the Ministry of Natural Resources is doing at this point, now that we've filled this report and said there is no conflict with us doing this. This is on patent land. There's no other uses identified. So this can be considered for wind development. They then go through that, confirm it, and issue out something called a confirmation letter, which we then give to the ISO. And the ISO can say, okay, we're all right giving you a power purchase agreement. Once a power purchase agreement is issued, they would give Elemental Energy limited tenure on those lands for the wind development. So the ability to build the turbines, build roads in to get access, and build the electrical lines. But then it defaults over to the Ministry of Environment's process. So the Ministry of Natural Resources has the lands and says, yes, you can use the lands, we're fine with it, but you got to go through the environmental assessment process. And then they normally change or shift gears, and then they go into the protection of fish and raptors and everything else. So they go in and they will then take going for the landowner approach to the advocate on behalf of the environment. So they'll be in the room when we do the RIA, so playing that dual role. And Infrastructure Ontario ever so often says we should really just do the lands and you guys should really just do this, but you know, that's the way it's structured.
And then with no municipal roads in this area, that will be a large undertaking to access this property?
The Crown lands?
Yes.
Yes, the Crown lands, we think we're gonna try to piggyback on, we've talked to the mine claim holder. And we're gonna talk to whoever wants to do the forestry work, the forestry management reports out, so we'd actually go to the Ministry of Natural Resources, to the Ministry of Mines. And work with the claim holder and whoever wants to do the timber harvest to try to figure out the best way to do the roads and who's gonna be the first one in, because. If the forestry guys decide to do a harvest, they'll want to build their roads first, and then. We would want to reinforce those roads so that they could actually take the weight of the wind turbine, so. A little bit of making sure we're working with everybody who wants to use these lands, so it's.
Yeah, okay.
So if a private landowner, as noted in the green line ones, if they then want, because they'll have access to their lands, then that would not become like a public road. It would strictly be a road for your purposes.
Correct. Yeah.
Are they gated or how is it?
Not typical. I mean, we sometimes yes, sometimes no. We'd have to, I mean, typically we don't gate our sites. We'd have to think about it in the context of sort of where the access is here, whether or not there's like a sort of site gate to get to the site. But and work with the landowners on that as well. It just depends on the sites. Most of our sites don't have any gates. They oftentimes will be on forest sites where there's already roads, and then we upgrade them. But they want to make them open use. Yeah.
In this area, it's a snowbuilder's paradise. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Actually, that's where the RIA kicks in, because that's part of the socioeconomic discussions, because. You have the roads, and start having dialogues with everybody. Well, the hunters will want no gates. The snowmobile folks and the off-trail folks won't want any gates. So then you sort of figure out the best course through discussion with everybody. Is it, do you gate part of it? Do you give everybody a key. You sort of sort through a process of access.
Yeah, I mean, from our perspective, we don't necessarily desire gates or
Mhm.
restricting access, but we need to make sure that things are safe. And so that's where sometimes it comes in, or there might be landowner requirements.
Because Northern Ontario weather is a whole lot different than your other project sites.
Yeah, there's always some unique wrinkles in Canada, that's for sure. One of the nice things about working from coast to coast is we've seen a lot of different things, but for sure it's all going to be different. Yes, yes.
I'll just say you'll have a building on site though, eh? Like as a hub.
Yeah, so
Probably have that.
almost certain,
built.
most of the time we'll have an operations and maintenance
Yeah.
building on site. Yes.
For whatever rescue or whatever it might entail there.
Yeah, I would have, spare parts, rescue
Yeah.
equipment, the technicians, all their kind of tooling that they need for their sort of day-to-day vehicles, et cetera. So what I was saying earlier is there's sometimes some sites, if they're close enough to other facilities, might do offsite buildings like that, but it's more common to have them on site.
Mm.
So this next slide is about the RIA process. It's the sort of flow chart. I'm not going to walk through all that. That's sort of straight from the ministry, but so that some of the key kind of requirements of the RIA is extensive consultation with local stakeholders and potentially impacted agencies, multiple open houses to inform the public and receive feedback, natural and cultural heritage assessments, water assessment, environmental protection plans, noise impact assessments, operations and constructions plans, decommissioning plan, socioeconomic sort of studies. So very comprehensive process. It's been in place for, well, I don't actually know how long. Patrick probably knows better than I do, but a long time, and gone through iterations. And I'd say it's one of the leading, in terms of being kind of a robust process, I'd say it's one of the leaders in Canada. Quite a sort of stringent bar for development, and that's obviously a province where there's been a lot of renewable energy development, although not as much lately. But there was quite a rush of project development, and a lot of these evolved in a modern way to sort of track the latest trends in the industry.
And I was going to say, just from a process perspective and letting everybody know about the project, there's a public announcement that goes out in the papers. There's a website that has to be set up for this. This is assuming, the municipal support resolution gets issued. We submit into and get a contract, which is not guaranteed. Like there's 10 to 14 wind projects in this region, so everybody's sort of vying for it. So it's a bit of, we don't know until we know 6 months from now what's happening. But then if you get a contract, then you get that tenure on the Crown land, and then you make a public announcement, and that's where also you start the engagement with all the stakeholders. So we would actually look to work with municipality about who would you suggest we talk to, and then we go out to the list of so all the snowmobile clubs get contacted, all the fishing, anybody who might be interested gets contacted. And we meet with them, and then we have an open house. So they sort of do a two-step with it, so that we have, because you're right, like the snowmobile club might be saying, well, we got trails over here, so we want to use you. Can you create us more trails that would get us from here to here? All that sort of a dialogue that starts happening.
And even outside the process, so we've had lots of interaction with snowmobile clubs on other projects. The one that we were just looking at, that picture of, that one, we've had a really good relationship with the local snowmobile association that uses the lands where our site is as kind of part of their provincial network. And so we've early on engaged with them and made sure that they're aware of our construction plans, how operations works. We've made adjustments to some of our approaches to accommodate, and certainly see good co-use between wind projects and frankly most activities that are current uses, primarily because it's turbines and roads and stuff that connects them, but it's not like a full-on facility that's like covering every acre of land. It's pretty spread out. The next slide is about that RIA process in terms of a bit just like of a more of like the engagement or I guess it's sort of a high level piece. Actually, Patrick spoke to some of this just now, but so the notice goes out to commence the process. So there's key agency meeting. There's two of those. The first one held with the relevant agencies. Then there's a publishing of a preliminary project information package. That is quite the alliteration there. Information about the project made public via mailouts and posting on the website. Stakeholder, comprehensive stakeholder consultation. Patrick just spoke to that. Lots of Q&A and discussion that comes out of that. Open the first sort of formal open house to go over sort of findings and then finalize the requirements for the RIA. And then publishing the final RIA reports and another open house to provide information about the project and the final report. So things evolve obviously over time. And then a notice of completion once all the outstanding questions and concerns have been addressed. We issue a notice of completion to the MECP, and then a statement of completion would be received if we get through that process, which is not a foregone conclusion that you would necessarily be able to get that. So I don't know if you want to add any color on that. You've been through more of these than I have, Patrick.
Yeah, so the easiest way to look at this is that at a certain point, the proponent says, I'm done, and issues the notice of completion. And it's a public notice. So for example, stakeholders, interested parties who don't agree, the process has answered all their questions, then can formally put in a letter and say, I don't think you're done, essentially. This would include the municipality. If the municipality we're going to invite you to what is the interagency kickoff meeting where all the Ministry of Environment, the Ministry of Natural Resources, federal authorities are there asking us, here's what we want to see done here from a report and on the project. So this is the technical work we want done. So the municipality will be invited to that. And they can all listen in and add in their concerns and issues. So that what we're supposed to address during the RIA. And the municipality, at the notice of completion, could also issue a letter, say, hey, you didn't answer this question around roads to our satisfaction. We want to know this. And then what happens is the Ministry of Environment says, you have two choices. Three, actually. One, you can ask us to say you're complete, which we might not, and then we're going to elevate you to another and make you do the process again, or go talk to all the stakeholders and try to resolve these issues and demonstrate you did finish everything. So that's about normally a 6-month process where you go around and talk to everybody and try to suss out where they feel you haven't completed the process, and then you report back to the Ministry of Environment. And then normally it's a director level decision where you normally don't get them all done. There's normally one where you say, look, here's all the information on this issue. We cannot get the stakeholder who's asked this question. They're still unhappy. So you'll need to make a decision. And then they'll normally at that point, if you started with 10 and you're down to 1, they'll say, okay, you've acted reasonably here. You're done. And then they let us move forwards into permits and approvals.
Yeah. Sorry.
Just one further question with regard to the Waasigan transmission line. I know and recall in the news there were quite a few people who were objecting to it on the Ware and the Kaministiquia, like from the Kaministiquia area, and you're looking to access lands, Gorman, Ware, and Dawson Road. So if there is some objection to the towers being processed or being built in those municipalities or townships, then how does that affect this project? Do you need to have total cooperation between, say, north of Dawson Road and south of Dawson Road or 102 to have this project go, or can it go like just partially? Like, so only the organized municipality is connected?
So we're connecting in actually the Hydro 115 kV that goes up to the generation stations. The Wasakin line's close by, but we're actually going probably in, I think we're going to the Hydro 1 line, aren't we, Dan?
Yeah, that is the Waskin line's, I think, a couple kilometers north of the site. But I think the question was more about there was opposition on that.
Yeah.
Could there be opposition on this? I mean, yeah, I mean, there could be opposition from stakeholders. I don't know exactly like how it would work with stakeholders that may be quite far away or distant that would have issues with it. I don't know how that Patrick could probably speak to that. We've had projects in the past in other jurisdictions where and oftentimes it'll be stakeholders that maybe aren't even that close to the project that sort of have an issue with it, but they won't be given as much sort of weight as stakeholders that are sort of close to the project and within the region of it. But I don't know if you have any sort of further commentary to add on this specific question.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think. So the question is like, do we anticipate opposition from the same people that oppose the Wasakin line coming forwards? Probably not, because what Elemental will be building is a low voltage power line, distribution level line. I think you're saying 30 kV range?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, you know, what you'd normally see on the side of a road, like the little cross with the 3 lines, that would go along a roadway, and then there'd be a substation underneath the Hydro 1 power line where they basically say where to go. So we will propose a connection point, but Hydro 1 could say, no, we'd like you over here a little bit more. And then the low voltage distribution lines that you see on the side of the street go into that substation, and they do something called a P-tap. So the larger power line goes up to that Hydro 1 line. So it really isn't the same impact. If you know, like the big high voltage towers, I think it's 230 kV Wasakin was building, they're big and they're have to be high up for regulations. These are along the ground level and much lower voltage. So yeah.
And they're also contained within the project area itself. So, and they'd be quite far set back from the boundaries of those properties. So you could always get opposition. So I don't want to pretend like there couldn't be opposition from people that are concerned about whether it's the power lines or maybe the turbines, or maybe they just don't like wind energy. There's various reasons people will give for opposition on different projects. There's other projects where there will be very good support. To date, our interaction on this project's been very positive, but it's still early days. And so I wouldn't want to pretend like things can't pop up.
But just picking up on that thought, though, the RIA process does force a rethink as more information comes in about where things are located. So there is a possibility that something could come up, whether it's a stakeholder concern that we're not aware of right now, or an environmental concern that has us move a turbine to another location. So put another one on the crown land, for example, rather than on the private land, or move one on the private land over a kilometer. All of that's possible as we move through the process, because it's quite fluid. So you're sort of like, you know, there's this environmental issue. You know, you need to deal with it. So it's called, so what we'll do is then we'll just sort of, okay, fine, we'll to mediate that impact, we'll move it over here.
Got enough land to work with.
Exactly. There's a lot of there.
Yeah. Okay, the next slide's about community engagement. So, you know, on all of our projects, whether or not there's a formalized kind of community engagement requirement, we'll put together a community engagement plan to ensure that stakeholders are properly consulted on the project. In this case, we'll adhere or exceed the requirements detailed in the RIA regulations and requirements for this municipality and your land use bylaw and plans. Our principles and values are really being committed to projects that generate positive social impacts and long-term community benefits. We try to create trust and make sure that information is accurate and two-way. And we always try to take feedback into account where possible. We can't always take every request and make changes, but sometimes we are able to make meaningful changes to projects based on feedback received. So this I probably won't read out all this, but you know, this talks about the stakeholder identification, and a lot of that is regulated in terms of how we reach out to, like who we reach out to. Project notifications will be delivered by mail or electronically. We'll have a website set up with project updates that will be updated regularly so that anybody can check on the continued progress of the project. We'll host information sessions and open houses. As Patrick said, there's a minimum of 2, and we'll provide information about the project. We'll typically have many poster boards to provide information, just have our company there, but also there'll be a lot of experts involved that we'll need to have doing environmental work, technical studies, et cetera. And we'll make sure that they're there to answer questions, because oftentimes a lot of the questions that we'll get are really detailed technical questions, or they're general questions, but you need a technical person to answer them properly and accurately, and we're not capable of doing everything. So we'll make sure that everybody's there so that people don't feel like we're not just saying, oh yeah, we'll get back to you 100 times and then don't answer anybody on the spot. And yeah, really documenting our process is important. So we'll have a robust consultation log that we maintain to track issues, any concerns, and also opportunities for improving the project. The next slide is about benefits. I don't think it's just 4 benefits to the project, but we see these as the 4 key benefits to a project like this. The big one's capital investment. So construction costs on a project like this would be roughly $250 million. So a pretty substantial project. And that results in a lot of contract opportunities for local businesses, things like land surveying, permitting, civil construction, mechanical, electrical construction, cranes and logistics, which is an interesting part of this project, given, there's port access nearby, crane suppliers nearby. It's a good project location to, I think, really capitalize on all the local expertise and sort of businesses that are here. We'd like to work local. It usually makes sense for most people when they can. So we really think this will be a great opportunity to bring a lot of that investment into the community. There's direct tax revenue. So we am not a requirement for many services. And we've been working with the municipality, municipal staff since our last meeting to estimate those. And I think the estimate was roughly around high 80,000, 90,000 a year for industrial, and about 30,000-ish for education based on the size of the project. Again, preliminary numbers, but that's what we were provided by your staff. And that sort of aligns with what we had seen. So a pretty good sort of jolt of tax revenue for the community. We'll also be setting up a community benefit fund, which we do on all of our projects, really trying to find ways for us to be a better, a good member long-term in the community, a good neighbor. These can be tailored quite a few different ways. And we would seek input from the yourselves and other members of the community to shape that. I've got a slide at the end as well, just showing some examples on some projects of how, both, what we've done on different projects, but also how different they can be on different projects depending on community needs. And they can be things like annual bursaries up to capital projects, if that's of most interest. If say there's a playground or something that needs upgrading, or a new playground altogether, something like that. So we're generally very flexible in how we structure those funds. Employment. So as per earlier, approximately 150 jobs in peak construction. It will vary through the construction process, but that's about what it'll get up to. And then in operations, typically around 5 full-time jobs and up to maybe 10 full-time equivalent jobs. So full-time would be more like the technicians on site that are responding to turbine needs and doing proactive and reactive maintenance on the turbines, and keeping the site secure and safe. And then there's other spin-off kind of jobs that are created through projects like this for other services that are needed. So just in summary, we're seeking a municipal support resolution from the municipality of Oliver Papunj for the Marilla Wind project. This project has local landowner participation and crown leasing, and we're really excited about it. This resolution only enables us to submit a proposal to the ISO. It's a requirement of the proposal, so we do need it to be able to submit a proposal, but it doesn't guarantee your support or commit you to anything. As we talked about, there's a long-term engagement process. And we totally appreciate that if we got that resolution, that it would still be a long-term process of building trust and ensuring that the municipality is happy with the project. And if a PPA, power purchase agreement, is obtained, the project would go through this rigorous consultation and environmental assessment RIA process that would take 2+ years. And the municipality, community, and other stakeholders will be engaged in the project's ongoing development through that process. And this will provide the municipality the opportunity to raise any issues and concerns through the permitting process. And as I say, it's not like today's decision is binding in the future. We still need to make you happy through the life of the project, and we think that we will. We think we've got a really good track record on other projects, and we're always happy to provide any kind of references or information about those projects. And we really just thank you for allowing us to present today. Hopefully, didn't go too far over time.
On page 2 of the agenda, it says the resolution will come to the next meeting.
Next meeting, okay. So we thank you very much for coming down today. We hope to see this going forward. Again, the resolution will be at our next meeting.
Okay.
Give the counselors some time to think about it.
Okay, well, thank you so much.
No problem. Have a safe trip home again.
Thank you.
Are you flying? Flying? Oh,
I'm heading out tomorrow.
we'll hopefully won't have any strike going on.
As long as the vote goes right way.
Okay.
In the Timmins Airport.
Around it.
I'm not trusting Air Canada. But if there is any questions that come up, please let us know. We're happy to do follow-up however you
Yes,
find.
we'll make sure they go through the administration. You'll get them.
Perfect. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
Bye-bye. And our next presentation is Juanita Lawson from the Northwest Community Health Center. That's the order I have it on mine. And then the Thunder Bay Speedway is next. So go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, we're going by the order of agenda.
Okay, great.
Go ahead, Juanita.
Warm.
Thank you for coming today.
I won't be too long. Thank you for providing me the opportunity to speak with you just about some of the plans we have that we wanted to share with you, but also ask for your support. But I just wanted to walk through also the status of the Kekabeka site. It's the Northwest Community Health Center site, which is in the Kekabeka location beside Evergreen. So in terms of what I wanted to share with you today is just a status update of where we're at with care. And so you can go to the next slide. And Elaine, unfortunately, is unable to join me today. But since we've opened, it's actually been four years, which is surprising.
Just click on it. You can go.
Oh, sorry, I can manage it myself. Okay. Good. So one of the things that we're really happy about is we've been able to stabilize our healthcare providers. So we have one full-time nurse practitioner that many of you maybe know, Caitlin. And we also have been able to secure services from a physician, Dr. Holloway. And is that static for me?
No, unless there's a phone right beside the. Go ahead.
And the other thing that we've been able to do is offer walk-in clinics, and we have Richard McKenzie, a nurse practitioner, who offers walk-in clinics to anyone who doesn't have a healthcare provider, which is really important. And the other piece that we're doing is continuing to bring in new clients. So since in the past year, we've accepted, it says 339, but it's up to 500 new clients who are receiving primary health care. And one of the ways that we've been able to do that is we have Sean Dukey, who's a nurse practitioner, who is through our walk-in clinic when we're seeing people who are complex, don't have a healthcare provider. Sean Dukey is meeting with them to prepare them for coming into primary care when we have openings. And what that process looks like is individuals and our referrals are completed, specialists are completed, blood work, everything that helps that client while they're waiting to be onboarded with a primary care provider. Some of the other things in the last year, as you can see with some of our data, is we've been able to increase rates for cervical cancer, breast screening, and colorectal screening, which those are some of our indicators that we have to report to the ministry. but we're happy to see increases in that. And we know that with stabilization of staffing, that's been really helpful. I think the other things, just the services on top, is really to talk about some of the things that have happened are ongoing. So respiratory clinics, we have a nurse practitioner who travels to Uppsala. We still have a commitment there. Our nurse practitioner will go out to see clients as well if there's significant barriers to care, as well as our community health worker. And then we have the food box program, and then a number of other programs such as the walking program, chair yoga, and then the rural dementia cafe has been started. So in terms of today, you hopefully have seen or heard that there is an expansion of primary healthcare. And Dr. Philpott, who is leading some of this work, she's serving as the chair of the Primary Care Action Team, that the goal for the Ministry of Health and with Dr. Philpott leading this work is to have everyone attached to a healthcare provider, whether it's a family doctor or a nurse practitioner. And so there's been calls for funding that have gone out. There was a first call for funding that happened very quickly in June. We didn't apply for that. We were otherwise occupied and needed to do some work just in terms of understanding what the needs were. But there is going to be another call for funding happening in fall. So we're anticipating it potentially the end of September or early October. And our goal is to take a look at the rural communities. And so, as you may recall, we previously were servicing 10 mobile health communities. We would go to the community, and then we've stabilized our staffing into the Kakabeka site, and we want to expand. And we want to expand services to Roslyn, Nautilus, O'Connor, and add more staffing. And so part of that is to understand what the needs are. But the other piece is we are going to be moving towards obtaining feedback from the residents in these areas. And part of that is understanding from people who receive our services. We do receive client feedback on an ongoing basis. That's a commitment we have and a requirement. But this would be more of an expansive survey that asks questions just around what are some of the unmet needs that they might have that they want to identify. We'll also be hopefully hearing from others who do not have a healthcare provider about what their concerns are or needs are with regards to access to healthcare. And then we'll also be exploring just what their needs might be with regards to other matters, such as what we call an interprofessional care team. So whether they need dietitian, therapy, mental health supports, social supports, we understand there's planning happening with regards to senior housing. So those type of things we would like to understand so that we can plan accordingly. And the other thing is we'll be asking about the relationship that we have with Evergreen. So Henry and Devin have looked at the survey because we've asked questions about, has this made a difference, us working beside pharmacy? How has that made a difference in your care in terms of med management, looking at complexity, making sure there's no med errors? So those are some of the things that we'll be asking. And that will be coming out shortly. So one of the things in terms of coming here today is I'd like to hear from you about whether, it doesn't have to be today, but we would really like to hear from you about what you see on the horizon. What do you think some of the healthcare needs might be of individuals residing in your municipality? Because that would assist us, whether you have any data or anything like that would help. The other thing that we would be asking is whether there's opportunities to support the distribution of the survey. So whether it's through paper copy or through other communications that you have, because it will be through a Survey Monkey, there'll be both options, paper and Survey Monkey. And the other option is in the future, if needed, because we don't know what the application would be, is whether your municipality would support a letter of support with regards to expanding interprofessional care services in your municipality. So those are some of the things that we're working towards. Last time the call for funding came out, it was a very tight window. It was about 3-week turnaround. So we have a really good base already, but we'd really like to hear from municipalities about what their needs are and whether there's support for this. So that's all I have. I'm open to hearing some questions or feedback or.
My question or thought was, what time limit would you have with this survey? Because we do have a newsletter that goes through all of these rural communities. It goes out the 15th of the month and then it's delivered the first week of the next month. So if it was to be done in September, you could get it to us in August, by August 15th. Then that would notify people to go online. And we also have the web page and what have you. But a lot of them do read the newsletter, and I think you'd get a lot more response. And there are many seniors will tell you they don't have a computer, they don't want to work on a computer, they don't understand how to do the surveys that way. And so if it comes by paper, we have certain places we can drop them off to. And I do know with the rural 60 plus and the Legion that they're very happy to cooperate with Quebec. They do now for some of these items. So any questions? No? Councillor Peacock?
Just a comment, I appreciate the clinic that's there where members, if you like, and through Sean, that's how it all started, and started with a visit to the satellite clinic that was at the Cam Community Center. So from there, I have used the services of Quebec and appreciate everything they offer. Thank you. Definite asset to our municipality. And with any luck, you'll be able to expand further to the Roslyn area as well.
Councillor Miss?
Yeah, just one question. The Quebec, this basically me, not Quebec. Is there any possibility of you folks working with the Roslyn situation there too? I understand there's possibilities, room available there to have health care. Any comments on that or any?
Well, I can say that so if you've been to the Quebec location, you can see that we've expanded, we've added an additional exam room. So that's been really helpful. We are looking at the location, of course, and we know, so again, it would be helpful. So when you talk about Roslyn, is that because of an expansion? Like we're looking at census data, is that because of an expansion? But Roslyn has grown significantly.
Yeah.
And we know that Evergreen is there, but those would be things that we have to have ongoing conversations about that, because I know there's spaces ready to be built and, yeah, but we also know, I really can't comment on that.
Yeah.
but-
I understand
Yeah.
that. I didn't want to put you on the spot,
Yeah.
but okay, I appreciate what you're saying.
Because we do have the one subdivision, or not subdivision, but that one unit for all seniors. And then we do have the other one, the golf course one, that is going to expand
Right.
with more houses too. So that's all in that area. There'll be a lot more people living there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it would reduce the burden of people coming to the Quebec site.
Right.
Right.
Also to the Thunder Bay site, because many individuals who actually used to receive services in Thunder Bay have actually transitioned their care to Quebec. So, but we still have room for the Quebec location to accept more patients. So we're still looking at doing that. So,
Okay.
but yeah,
Any
thanks for that
further
offer
questions?
and suggestion.
Thank
Any
you.
further questions? Well, I just want to say thank you very much. You've brought us some good news. Sure that none of us are opposed to this, but yeah, if we could get it in the newsletter by the 15th, there's about 5, including Nonaloo newsletters, that all have to have it by the 15th. And even if you send it to here, we can send it to the other ones.
Yeah, so that would be 15th of September. then.
Yes,
Okay,
if they
yeah.
have it previous to that, it will get into the newsletter for everyone. Then when the survey starts, you can have a little bit of a heads up to the people would be appreciated.
And we met with Nonaloo last night. I think we're meeting with maybe as well. So, and I also just wanted to share just the virtual care clinic as well. So
Okay.
just if you're familiar with it, or hopefully if you aren't, that you wanted to post some of these or share them. So that's the clinic it's attached to Norwest 7 days a week from 12 to 8. You don't have to be a client of the Norwest Community Health Center. So if you're feeling not well on a Saturday afternoon and you want to, so it's virtual, but it also can mean it's through a phone call, or it can be through your computer, where you can actually book your appointment online. But a phone call as well is available for people who aren't savvy or don't feel comfortable with that. So
Terrific.
that is growing very, very well. It's available across all of Northwestern Ontario. So yeah, so just to let you know, there's a nurse practitioner available, so. Can I leave
Perfect.
these, Wayne, at the front, or can I just leave these there?
Well, I'll take one first and then we'll
Okay.
spread out the
Okay.
news.
All right, well, thank you very
Thank
much for your
you.
time. Thank
Thank you for coming. Okay, and finally, the Thunder Bay Speedway, we have Norm and Louis here. If you'd like to come forward. It's been a bit of a long morning, but
Nice to see you guys again.
nice to see you too. And we do,
Wednesday?
Oh, don't say that. It's the last one.
okay, so if your button is on, the light is lit, you can speak into there, yes.
Good morning, Mayor and Council. Thank you for the opportunity of to speak today on the topic of the Sunday event we're proposing. Norm and I are here today to, on behalf of Thunder City Speedway, asking you to consider granting permission to host a monster truck event on the weekend of October 11th and 12th of this year. The Monster Truck Show is not just an event. We feel it will be a celebration of community spirit, drawing families from across the city and region, providing an opportunity for fun, excitement, and unforgettable memories on this Thanksgiving weekend. Moreover, there's an economical impact this event can bring to local businesses such as restaurants, gas stations, shops, and hotels. We'll see a boost in business and benefit as numerous spectators will come to see the show. This is not just about one weekend of entertainment. It is about revitalizing our local economy and supporting our community's growth. We understand the importance of adhering to city bylaws and sincerely apologize for the oversight in scheduling and the inconvenience this may have caused administration. However, we urge you to consider the positive ramifications of allowing this event to take place on the Saturday and Sunday of this Thanksgiving weekend. We feel it will be a win-win for all, and we thank you for the consideration.
Any questions? Do you have a time for the event? Like time of day?
2:30.
2:30? Okay. Any questions? Councillor Viss?
I'll just make a comment. I guess I'm truly disappointed in you folks. The last time when you came to us, we were talking about extended the hours and so on, and you said, I'll take a slap on my hand, exactly what you said, and I'll pay the fine, whatever. That was, but you know, you've rethought that and you've done really well with time, because we hear it and we gotta say, you've done tremendously good job. Now this thing here, you come again after the fact. The tickets have been out being sold and we're getting calls and there's, no, they can't have it. We got to tell people because the agreement. You folks make agreements with a lot of people because you're in business. You wouldn't like to work with that when somebody changes on the go. And now you're asking us after the fact. That's the downside of it. I don't have anything wrong with, I think the racing has been a good thing. It brings a lot of people and I don't have anything against monster. It's the way you guys proceed to deal with us as a council. We get the rap for it. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, but it's not a racing event. It's a community.
I understand, but it's the noise. There's a church just down the road that'll be there in the afternoon
Yeah, but we were told anything after 1 o'clock is acceptable.
from this church here. You're correct. The other ones did not come and object.
Yeah, but they were not in part of the appeal.
No,
No,
that's
they
right. They
weren't.
were not a part of the
The
appeal.
other reason for the request is this truck show is coming through Canada
Mm-hmm.
as a schedule, and we jumped on.
I
board.
understand.
In our,
Just trying to make it a community event, trying to create income for our facility and just trying to make it a year-round facility that we can host events.
I think moving forward, if we see this one's going to be successful, like the last one was very successful, and then we weren't sure if we should have it every 2 to 3 years. And then this company had contacted us kind of last minute, and in our ignorance, we should have approached you people first, but we weren't even sure they were gonna stop. And then when we jumped on board, they said it would meet their schedule. But if this one is gonna become successful, then I think what we'll do is carve it in stone where we'll have it every 2 to 3 years. It's not something we want to do every year. It doesn't have that kind of you know, that kind of horsepower. But if we're thinking every 3 years, then we could just say, hey, listen, we're gonna go to council and say, you know, we're not sure if it's 2 or 3, but it will definitely not be every year. So I think that's something moving forward, we could just kind of carve it in stone where we'd ask permission and say, listen, every October, every year, second or third year, we would like to be able to host this event and give you much more notice. Like I said, we got a little bit caught off guard ourselves. We weren't even planning on doing it, but we're just seeing, you know, the last result, I think, brought in about 7,500 fans to see the show. So we thought, let's try it again. And if this one's not successful, it might be the last one. So
Well, I don't
And-
know. There's a lot of people that have already talked to me about how excited they are about going.
yeah, well, there's just a ton of, like, little kids aren't really into the racing that much, but monster truck, that's a whole nother animal. So it's really seems to bring out the families and everything. And like I said, if this one's gonna be successful, then we should, you know, come back to council and say, listen, every October, and of course, talking to this monster truck show, if they're willing to come every second year, then we'll just, you know, get it in the books that that's what we're gonna do and it'll be part of our program.
Perfect. Yes, Councillor Peacock.
Thanks for coming this morning. The advertising went out long before like you had it on your schedule that you had originally presented to us, but it was the Friday and Saturday. Well, then when the Sunday got, I guess there was just some confusion in the dates, but unfortunately, the advertising was already out. Tickets were on sale and
That
and
was,
it didn't have.
that was the monster truck kind of
That's the.
caught us off
that-
guard.
yes.
From what was kind
Yeah.
of terrible, that-
We didn't even really accept that we were gonna host this yet, and then we were just kind of
Yeah,
talking to
jumped the
them.
gun on it.
Yeah,
Mhm.
we apologize for that.
You're
saying it's starting both days at 2:30? Saturday and Sunday,
Yes,
start at 2:30 and go till
The event starts at 2:30.
I think it ends by 6.
5, 6, whatever, yeah.
They're having like a meet and greet at 2:00, I believe, just. VIP
How
event.
flexible are they? You did mention Friday, Saturday, and then Saturday, Sunday. Are they very flexible? I understand that if they're coming through, there's a period of time that's a help. Do you have any idea when they would be pulling in? Is there a possibility of moving them to a Friday evening?
Well, we don't really want to do it in the evening
Okay,
because
because
of the weather. It's-
Okay.
I think with young kids too, and then school's already started by October,
Yes,
so I think
sure
being an
does.
afternoon event just makes it much more appealing to family.
Mm-hmm.
And we're kind of giving them something to do on the Thanksgiving weekend where people are coming in from out of town and
Yeah.
then the Monday will be free to celebrate with their
Yeah.
families.
And it's not like a race of these trucks. It's just,
Not really. They're not, the noise level is nowhere near like a
Just-
racing event, but they still make noise. I'm not gonna lie to you.
just crush
Or
out
like
the-
a start stop.
Yeah, they
Typically,
kind
a
of,
few of them,
they
and then
they
have a
rev
promo.
up and get a little excited and actually they rev more, not so much to put the show on, it's more the crowd likes it, so
Yeah,
they'll just
it's-
rev it up,
yeah.
get the kids fired up and
It's not that continuous drone that you have of
No.
racing all the time.
no.
And hopefully someone says at the beginning of the show, do not try this at home. But anyway,
Moving forward though, like maybe it's it'll take place in another meeting, but I think this whole racetrack thing is kind of taking off and there's been actually fairs that want to get involved with us, possibly like a fall fair. There's more and more events, so I don't know how we open up the table to, we just acknowledge it's an amusement park kind of thing, and every time we do something, we don't feel like we're doing something wrong. I think if we're out of the ordinary, like the noise and stuff like that, but you know, is there something we could do moving forward that we don't always feel like we're breaking the law? And I don't like that
I
feeling.
just think we want to be recognized more than just
Yeah.
a racetrack.
We have to do something. Our taxes went from 5,000 to 22,000 and we're not sure why in a matter of,
I don't know.
you know what I mean? And that's, to be honest with you, our racetrack was established to give back to the race car drivers. It's getting more and more expensive. A lot of them are dropping out because of the expense. So this year we increased the purse to try to help them out, and then along came the tax bill. So now we're basically
Don't have it.
barely breaking even, but we're in for the long haul.
Yes.
But we might have to do more things to just kind of make ends meet. We really did nothing other than, you know, beautify the place, but we don't have a building, we don't have anything. So we're trying to figure out how to justify taxes jumping up so much when we're 4 months of the year, 1 day of the week. It's just not viable for us. So we're gonna have to probably do more things, so.
That's understandable. And I would suggest that if it's anything to do with different types of events on the property, that you would go see our planner.
Yeah,
And then, of course, the CAO would get involved in any discussions and it would come to council. That's-
people have approached us even for like music festivals
Yeah.
and stuff like that. And it's something we want to be very open to. It's not, I don't want to run into this. This was not very appropriate for us to come here and ask for permit. That should have been done first. And I don't
But it
like
is-
that.
isn't
That's
it
not the way
different?
we roll and
Yeah, it's nice if you kind of talk about it
Yeah.
with the council or with the planning department and,
yeah.
you know, that,
And the reason why I'd like to get permission ahead of time is because the same thing happens where a band will come through and they'll say, hey, could we stop? Well, then we don't have the time to get the council, get permission. And so if we have a little more open blanket where we can just say, okay, this is, you want to do something crazy, then no. I understand that, you know, you don't want to start firing rockets off the property, but if it's anything with music festival, car entertainment, car shows, stuff like that, we maybe just like a little bit more of a blanket where we don't feel like we're,
that's no problem. Like I said, go see Carrie, our planner, and then she will tell you what you can. And if you have to change something in the zoning to get
yeah, that'd
it
be
going,
awesome.
a good time to do that is in the fall and winter before the next year starts.
Absolutely.
And
we
the fire
appreciate
chief
that.
will be there to make sure everything is, as he said now, everything is up to the way it should be. So
Yeah.
then,
I mean, everything around here you've noticed is all industrial and, you know, it's nice to, let's get back to the roots of getting family together and providing some entertainment. It's something that's lacking in our city and we all know it.
Yeah.
You can only go to the old fort in Quebec so many times. So we're getting tons and tons of Americans coming to our track now, which is, and that's why, and when I said to you, I'll pay the fine, it was basically due to that. Like, I don't want to turn Americans away and here tonight might be our first, you might be slapping us with a fine. Well, the rain is right on the border of 7-8, so we're not sure what to do because they're coming down. So, but anyways, we've been doing everything in our power to.
to someone and they told me it's not gonna rain, so you'll be.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we won't count it.
Yes, so it's gonna rain.
Oh, Jesus, that's what I'm getting. So
What you talk about?
anyhow, we've had a successful year and we want to really appreciate all your cooperation and everything that, you know, you guys have stood behind us. And I think we got a good little joint venture.
So I have the resolution here. Was there any more questions?
Yeah, just one thing. First of all, I don't want to get the misunderstanding. I like what you people are doing and what you're saying here. There's some other things that we could maybe use the property for. Why not? Think things out. And like the mayor said, bring it forth and let's put something so you don't have to come here every meeting or so on when something out. Because you got the seating, so you can bring stuff in the middle to have some kind of a whatever show. Why not?
Yeah.
You know, if you just work with us just prior to doing, I think council will be supportive of you.
Okay,
I don't
that's
think there's any problem there at all. Now, and I'm speaking just for me. I have no problem with that.
But even as a council, we're open to suggestions from the community. If you guys want to host an event or
Mhm.
whatever, like, we're here.
The thing we're noticing is a lot of these shows travel from Winnipeg to Toronto.
Yes.
And they're driving through Thunder Bay, and then when they hear there's an actual place they could do something and pick up a couple of extra dollars.
Right.
So yeah, unfortunately, that doesn't allow us enough time to, you know, meet with council on that. So I kind of think moving forward, this would be really awesome, and
Yes, I think.
we want to provide a really good entertainment center for the Papoonj, Oliver Papoonj, and the city.
Did you have a question, Councillor Peacock?
Just, we don't want to take away from the fairs that are already existing and have been for so many years, whether it be the Merle Fair, the Heimers Fair, the, you know, the rural heritage days, things like that. You know, it's important to keep those community things going, but fortunately, I don't think we've heard many concerns from residents with regard to the last racing year. I think before the leaves get on the trees, the sound carries, but other than that, I don't think anyone has received
We've actually done a really,
concerns, so.
really good job in shortening the program. And the drivers are getting a lot better. And
Yeah.
Well,
fewer incidents.
Yeah,
That's good.
Timeline's been excellent.
good to hear. Thank you.
Okay, so I do have the resolution here. It's been moved and seconded, and it's in our agendas. But I'll just read it. That notwithstanding section 1E of bylaw 37-2023 motor vehicle racing, conducting a monster truck event on Saturday, October the 11th, 2025 and Sunday, October 12th, 2025 at the Thunder City Speedway be approved. The motion has been made. It has been seconded. It's now open for any further discussion.
Could we make an amendment to that motion, say that it would start at 2:30?
We could put put in there the starting
event.
beginning at 2:30, somewhere in there.
Sure.
The actual event is gonna start, the actual shows at 2:30, but there's like a pit thing they're having it.
And that's fine. Just the racing portion of it is where
Yeah,
there's a noise. That's the only concern.
So we can put in there commencing 2:30 PM each day. And the time for that is not so much the Saturday, but the Sunday, because
Yes,
they do have services in the morning.
Saturday, start
Noise.
whenever you want.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Plus, then they can all just get in their car and drive across the road to watch the trucks.
Park down there like they usually do, walk across.
That's right.
So I've got now that notwithstanding section 1E of bylaw 37-223 motor vehicle racing, conducting a monster truck event on Saturday, October 11th and Sunday, October 12th at the Thunder City Speedway with monster truck performance commencing at approximately 2:30 PM be approved.
Okay,
That's good.
the person made the motion, I think is.
That's Alan This and Dan Calvert.
Are you agreeable to the change? Okay,
Yes.
so it's now up for a vote. All in favor? Opposed?
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
No problem.
See you out at the track tonight.
Yeah.
Good luck with the wind farm.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we had commenced with our council meeting. We have the minutes of the meeting on August the 5th for approval. The motion has been made and seconded that it be approved. Is there any errors or omissions on those minutes? Page 35 to 50. Councillor Peacock?
Just wondering, is this the time that if I have a question about the minutes?
No,
Or
is
is that-
there any
okay,
errors
okay.
or omissions? As there is none, all in favor of the minutes as presented? Opposed? Carried. Now, any discussion on the noted minutes? Councillor Peacock?
Thank you. Just looking for clarification with regard to resolution 296 on page 8, or sorry, page 42 of our agenda. The blue building, the door had to be changed. It had to become bigger, and I think Director of Operations provided us the information that the reason the door had to be bigger was to put machinery in there. And correct me if I'm wrong, so that the machinery can bring out the generator should we need it for power outage. Am I correct with that? Or what was the purpose for the building?
Through the
door?
chair, one of the doors is big enough to pull the generator through. We were looking at a drive-through operation. We've since changed our plans in that regard.
Okay. All righty, so it's been changed.
So that's not, the blue door isn't being, okay.
Any discussion on any other items of the minutes? Okay, as there is none, we will now go to the 2024 consolidated financial statements and budget surplus. We have a resolution that's moved and seconded. Now I would like you to fill in the value, please, for the budget surplus. I think it was on this. There isn't a figure in there, so.
$1,906,749.
Repeat that again.
$1,906,749.
Is that the correct number? No, I thought it was
It's on
two.
page 5 of the audited statements you received today.
So we're top of page 6.
And then our question is, the other part of it is transferred to what reserve? The working
Reserve.
reserve, so that's what it'll be filled in. So this motion has been, or this resolution has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion, further discussion on this resolution? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. We now have the 2026 municipal calendar. There is a resolution recommending the photos and also authorizing them to incur the expense to produce the calendar. We have the photographs. Some of them are rather dark, but that could be just because that's
the way they were printed.
that's the way it comes out, yeah. Any discussion on this resolution?
Well, I guess, Mayor Lucy, that's the only comment I had when I went through them. They're all so dark, and I thought, my, the whole 12 months, we got to look at dark pictures.
Oh, they're not
But
that dark.
They're not gonna look like
it's not
that.
gonna, okay.
No.
That's the only comment I had on it. I thought, my.
Councillor Peacock?
Thank you. With regard to the revenue that we receive to offset the expenses for the calendar, we're still needing to use our municipal departments to supplement the cost of the calendar. Am I
Mhm.
correct in that?
Yes.
Have we run out of businesses to approach or?
Well, it is what it is. That's how many people at this time have said they would like to have an advertisement in there. I do know that the calendars are gone within days.
We also have sold 3 additional ads since I wrote this report, so
Okay.
we only have 6 spaces being filled.
Good.
Right.
Thank you.
Yes.
Do you anticipate the cost to increase at all this year?
Likely, yes, just because all costs have gone up for everything. But I don't have a quote from them directly yet.
This is the company that has been doing it, so they're all knowledgeable on what we would like. And as I said, they are gone very quickly. We have to hide a box just so the seniors get some in December. Don't tell anyone that. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Then we have a resolution to award the RFP for the compactor repairs, and there's a report on our desk in regards to that as well. We have a resolution that has been moved and seconded for this, for these repairs. Any questions, any discussion? Once Councillor Peacock.
Thank you. With regard to this compactor, what is the life expectancy of it is, according to our asset management program? Do we know?
Through the chair, the asset management strategy in regard to compactors was 30 years from date of manufacture. And the strategy has always been to buy used at whatever time it ages out. This compactor is a 2001. It was purchased in 2016 for a total value of 128,000 plus HST. This has 5 years of useful life based on our strategy.
Okay. So 5 more years of useful life. Any further discussion? I will call for a vote. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. The next item is awarding RFP 18-2025 for the diesel exhaust system for some of the fire buildings, I believe. It has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on this item? Mr. Peacock?
Thank you again. Is there any consideration been given to grants of any kind? The provincial government is now providing the fire protection grant for occupational cancers and training equipment. So this is one thing, and again, we're dipping into working funds reserve, but what do you do? It has to happen. So moving forward, can we look into applying for grants for anything and everything possible, or?
I would, yes, Councillor.
Yeah, so does qualify in the grants. One of the items in the grant application is whether it's a funded project already. And the first set of diesel exhaust units were put in the budget and approved prior to the grant. when the grant came out, the second diesel exhaust was in the budget process. So I did not include it as part of the grant funding. In the new business I'm going to bring up is that there is another grant available, year 2 of the 3-year funding. And I am looking at adding that diesel exhaust along with washrooms and a whole bunch of other stuff into that grant. It won't be enough money in the grant to cover it, but it is a consideration.
Okay. But for the timing, this has to be done now.
Yeah.
It's part of the budget.
That's right. It's if we hold this off another year, we still have 3 stations that need diesel exhaust. 2 of them planned in the budget for next year because Roslyn is one. So in the grant, I think the estimated amount of money is 16,000 per active station. So that won't even cover these 3 stations. So
Okay. Any further discussion, Councillor Peacock?
I guess we've learned in the past that if you have a shovel-ready project, that's one thing, but if you've already started, you don't get funding, which is difficult to work with then.
yeah, and one of the stipulations in this grant is whether it's a funded project or not. And I don't know if it impacts the decisions on the grant allocation of money, but it is something I always put into consideration. If money's already been earmarked for it, then I don't know what the flavor is in terms of awarding grant money for it. And the timing is really out of sync, right? So this grant has to be in by the 30th of September. Obviously, next year's budget isn't even being looked at yet. So, if we say it's going to be done by the grant in the budget and then we don't get the grant money, then it just causes grief. So there's a bit of a juggling act and working with, or we'll work with John and management to figure out that application.
Okay. Okay, Councillor Kelly.
To the point we have all this asset management stuff going on and that we do all these projections on when stuff needs to be replaced, no matter what department. So when I think things are coming to end of life, wouldn't we be proactive to, look at the grants then, like take our projections ahead, when things are never be at end of life per se or use, and get ahead of the ball, and pursue the grants then.
Yes.
Through the chair, that's strategies that we've endorsed in 2023 and the plan coming to fruition in September, October this year. It's going to allow us to get ahead exactly what you're saying. When we see that, we've got 4 furnaces coming available at 4 of our properties. They're all going to age out in the same calendar year. We watch for grants every day. In fact, we had a conversation with NOHSC yesterday for an hour and a half about certain grants we're looking at. As they roll things out, whether it's NOHSC, provincial, federal, we're looking at them all the time. It'll allow us to fashion that we would be shovel ready, no money spent prior to the grant being announced, which is a caveat on every single one of them. If you spend money before, it's not claimable.
Right.
So that's what administration is, I would say, not constantly doing, but we are very aware of what's out there and how we can fashion those applications.
Just a question that came to me now. Does that also include engineer studies? Is that because that needs to be done to make something shovel ready?
Through the chair, we've seen that numerous times, the 10 years I've been here, where, we would put in a capital project, say 2026, you're going to see a couple line items through various departments for engineering fees to get it, a drawing, a study performed, secondary evaluation. We take those bridge assessments and building assessments, we plot that into asset management. We can see that, we're going to have a furnace here. We need a roof here. Then we chase that with grants that are approvable. But yes, you'll see probably, I know of 3 small values to get engineering done in 2026 to get ready for 2027. And you'll see those capital projects will be spelled out in asset management and part of our capital funding going forward.
Okay.
That's my whole point, like the use of that asset management for instances like this.
Yeah, through the chair, to speak to that, the roads have been cut and dry for many years, and we have a good program in place where we can say we're gonna spend 500,000-600,000 a year of surface treatment to carry on and manage our processes. Asset management, buildings, bridges, and the actual piece we're putting into the government will fashion that same scenario to all of our assets.
Okay, thank you. So we have the resolution and it has been moved and seconded in regards to those two systems. Diesel exhaust systems, three, okay, sorry, three. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? We now have a resolution awarding the guardrail replacement on at Oliver Road. A motion has been moved and seconded for the resolution. Is there any discussion on this?
In budget.
Councillor Peacock.
Thank you. I realize it's not the Oliver Road guardrail replacement that I'm going to ask a question about, but I had asked previously in council and I didn't get a response. Is there consideration for guardrails to be replaced or to be put on the Twin City Crossroads North project? The treasurer had indicated that they weren't included in the contract and those are pretty deep sides. Should somebody go off?
Through the chair, the road width was why through the chair, the answer was correct. It was not incorporated into the first Twin City Crossroads. Secondary to that, for those who drove through that area today, you can see some development occurring. There's going to be 3 commercial buildings going up in that corridor from what we're understanding. Driveways are significant for commercial and light industrial developments. When those driveways are incorporated into that road width that we've established, guide rails will be looked at upon completion of those accesses. Whatever's left over. I'm not going to slap $400,000 a guide rail in and then tear it out.
That's right. No, it's that's like building the road and digging it up to put the pipe in.
But to the point of the deep ditches, the road platform and the road safety evaluations that we do, when we widen the footprint as we did there, we now have more stopping distance ahead of ditches as we did before.
Yeah.
We're actually a safer roadway platform now than we were before.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
I recall I was having a conversation with you, Chris, and I understand that what we have right now is not against the MTO regulations.
Through the chair, that's correct. We could take you down Highway 17 to find worse spots than that.
Yeah.
That's right. And they're not supposed to be going 100 kilometers an hour.
Marluxia, again, this off topic for what we're discussing, but on the Twin City Crossroad, I was surprised when you said there's possibility of 3 entrances. When I noticed when they sprayed all the ditches for water runoffs, there was one area left open. I said, well, that's the entrance going to be for that. Now there's going to be 3 entrances. Is that what you're saying?
Through the chair, myself and planning and CAO are aware of further development pending on the opposite side of the road that we cannot speak to at this
Oh, I
time.
see. I've got the opposite side of the road. Yes, okay. I seen that. Okay.
So camp off.
So speaking to this resolution, so we had a quote previously that was quite a bit above budget. Is there what's the new style difference to the old style?
So through the chair, the province of Ontario has leaned towards getting rid of what they deem to be short lifespan wood components. They've gone to this high tensile steel. It's a different process, which is what we wanted in the first place. There's those parameters of engineering and steel components. You can well imagine what's going on with those prices at MTO right now, what they're seeing. They're probably going to do the same thing we just did and reverse their decision, go back to these models. This model here has been around forever. It is a replaceable component, and it's something that specific to this area, I would have preferred to have the other option, but it's just out of scope as far as price.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
What I understand, the wood is just as good as the steel for performance. It just doesn't last as long.
through the chair, that's correct. And there's additional speed rating component that's available through the high tensile steel that isn't through this wood manufactured. In this application, given low speed, it meets the requirements.
Yes. If they're going the speed limit, it should be fine. Any further questions? Okay, the resolution has been moved and seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. We now have a resolution to declare the 1989 550 G dozer as a surplus asset. Motion has been moved and seconded. For any discussion? Councillor Campbell.
Just curious, not really familiar with the machine, but a little bit familiar with such things. Is there anticipation of getting more than scrap price for this thing, or?
Through the chair, there is more anticipation than scrap. I'm going to put a more than scrap value reserve on it. There has been interest throughout the years as it sat at the previous landfill site to purchase it the way it was. As strategy was presented numerous times at this table, is we will need it for parts at one point in time.
Yeah.
That came to fruition in July. We've now executed and removed the parts that we've needed to keep our other one going. And we've decided that the usable components that are left are minuscule by nature, and it's time for it to go.
Okay, any further discussion? I'll call a vote. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Now we have something to have to open your calendars. We were looking at 2 dates in November and 1 in December, with resolution is to set the budget 2026 budget schedule. Okay, yes, Wayne?
As it says at the bottom of page 78, there's a bit of discussion about we're going into the 9 digits, and there'll be some issues with that. And then on page 79, when we see that entry about the first budget meeting, we're suggesting to have 2 days. Look at that, because there may be more to go over than you can do in one meeting.
That's the last week of November. That is also the week we have a council meeting. So what dates work for those? If you want 2 consecutive dates, you could go the 24th, 25th, or you could go the 27th, 28th. Or do you want to have 1 date at the beginning of the week and 1 date at the end? It's entirely up to. Perhaps if it's a good discussion, 2 days in a row might work while our brains are all in the same place, or.
Either that or give you a little time to absorb the first one to get to the second one. We're not as quick.
Yeah.
It's not that deep, guys.
So we could go the 24th and the 28th or 27th.
Yeah, something like that. I think I prefer a little time in between to absorb what we're
Good for administration too, to have 2
Okay.
days in between. Yes?
24th and 28th. Is that what you're saying?
Oh, I didn't see. Okay, Councillor Peacock, I didn't see.
Just a note, November the 14th, I think we're looking at the draft budget for 2026, not 2024. Okay. Okay. Just wanted to be sure we weren't working backwards.
Okay, so I shall put forth the 24th as the first day, the Monday. Is that agreeable to administration, the Monday? Okay, so and starting at what time? 8, 8:30, 9? We start our emergency meeting at 8, pardon? 9 o'clock, up to administration is 9 o'clock?
Yeah, fine.
Okay, 9 AM on the
Fine.
24th. Would be budget. We will go as far as we have to that day. Then we'll have council on the 26th. So how about the 27th,
Yeah, that's
rather
fine.
than a Friday?
Yeah.
Could we continue with the after our council on the 26th or no?
I would prefer not.
Okay.
I think that we don't know what's going to be on council. Yeah, and we don't know what's going to be in the council meeting and how long it's going to take. So the 24th and the 27th in November, is that acceptable to everyone?
Will do.
Especially the administration, as they'll be at both meetings as well. And then December.
So Mayor, Thanksgiving, is that gonna affect anybody on the 27th of November going to the States?
No, I don't care. Don't go to the States.
Just in case.
No,
Right.
I'll make sure that the Thanksgiving dinner's on the weekend for the guys, so. Anyway, and then we have one in December. Now, our council meeting is set for December the 9th, so we could have one the week after, if that works for administration. Same day, the 16th, on a Tuesday. Would that work?
Yeah, it's fine.
Everybody for, I'm asking administration if it works or you're gone on holidays. No? Okay, so the 23rd, 9 a.m. budget.
16.
Oh, sorry, 16. 23rd, that's just the day before Christmas. I'm on the wrong place here. 9 a.m. Budget.
Trees, presents.
Well, we could have a celebration after. All righty. So, yeah, so we have those 3 dates in the resolution. It has been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. And we do have on the next resolution, it's been moved and seconded, that our regular meeting in December will be on the 9th at 5 p.m. This is to allow if any planning applications come through. We'll do it in the evening. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. We have a resolution to appoint Janice Cox to the library board. It has been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. We have a report or an update on the arsenic treatment plant.
Oh, dear.
It is in our
Well, did it?
agenda, 82, page 82 to 88.
No.
There is no resolution. It is just for discussion, for information purposes. Comments to be made. There's nothing we can basically do about it. We have to do it. Yes, Councillor Campoff?
So to state the obvious, after all that effort and testing, and still the results are not what we expected after doing all the testing and everything. Is unfortunate.
It sounds like.
Through the chair, we were shocked, to say the least, that the process did not perform as it should. It is at no result the process. It's the raw water.
Mm-hmm.
We have scientific proof. We have the testing that it has changed, and our process needs to have the original water from 2023 to function properly, to say the least.
And how do you work with that? Because the water could change next week, it could change next year.
Through the chair, we are introducing a chemical that will replicate what we had.
Okay.
We have permission from the MOE to do that. We're going to be performing a trial the week of September the 12th. And all the intelligence that we have gathered around the table says it will work.
Oh.
But I've heard that for 2 years.
You got that right.
No, it's not any fault of administration or perhaps even our agent with the water system.
We've gotten to the point where we've engaged other experts, and you see those costs associated with that to basically verify what the other experts are telling us. And we've become quite involved in the whole process. And when you involve more than one engineering group, it takes a couple weeks to get everybody together. The time has definitely dragged on, but the bottled water component is not the biggest component of this project. And at the end of the day, we're coming up to the third fall that we will have challenges. And I would like to point out that this is not a Roslyn Village issue when it comes to water and water treatment plants and water quality. It's a nationwide problem. And there's other communities that are far worse off in regards to do not consume than what we are. We will get there.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Councillor Viss and then Councillor Peacock?
Yes, I noticed on the one article, one portion in here where it says the operating cost is going to drive us up because of all this testing and so on. Any indication at all what they're looking at operating costs out of the statement that's here?
Through the chair, the operating costs associated with the additional plant capacity that we built, in my opinion, has not been reflected. The true operating cost of that plant hasn't been reflected in about 40 years.
Yikes.
Our service provider that we currently have is a government agency. They, just like everybody else, are approving wage increases and stuff like that. The components in regard to testing and those $55 tests haven't changed much every 3 days. It's the actual physical person in the building. There is some operating expenses with additional reporting that they have people in the office that do reporting now. We're seeing those costs when we get into some of this work, when it's a time and material basis, going up, like their hourly rates for people, and when we ask questions and stuff like that. That same operating authority across Ontario to other jurisdictions has also increased their monthly charges across the board. There's a certain amount of liability, there's a certain amount of reporting back to the province, so to speak, where additional people are required to run these plants. It's not necessarily the operating expense, it's the maintenance contract we have with our service provider that they want fair compensation for the work.
Yeah.
And I would say since 1972, with the previous providers, with us doing it ourselves for most of the 80s prior to Walkerton, we did not reflect a true cost as to what that thing is. We were fortunate to have a local vendor, one-man show, so to speak, that kept our price point low. And in all reality, I think our price point 15 years ago should have shot up, in all fairness.
Yeah.
You haven't answered my question. 10, 15, 20, 25% increase in operating?
Through the chair, I would anticipate somewhere around 60% from last year's operating.
Did you just say 60?
Through the chair, yes.
Oh, think I'm gonna go home. Oh, thank you. Shouldn't have asked.
Councillor Peacock?
Thank you. So what the budget had shown as a line item in it was a public water dispenser. I presume that that isn't going to happen this year until we get this system up and running. Am I correct with that?
Through the chair, we feel we can do the public water dispersal component in-house once we get this all put to bed.
Okay.
Okay, and I appreciate the fact that at least in this report, consideration is given to have the OCIF funding utilized for the water system. As a municipality, I feel we're very fortunate after hearing what the auditor said is the surplus that we have, that the rest of the taxpayers, are they burdened with these expenses, or are we okay because we have a surplus? Or are we going to end up, how are we going to do a cost recovery in the end? Even put a price on a monthly bill for these people, and especially with the metering system that was put in, it's all up in the air, I guess, until we can make sure that the Thunder Bay District Health Unit is fine with our results from the water system.
Okay.
The-
So
Kind of
this- now we have had this information. Any more questions? Okay. Then we have a resolution in regards to the City Truck Diversion Working Group. It's an update, as well as a resolution. We have a scheduled meeting with Ministry of Transportation. It is a Zoom or Teams meeting. I would, and that this has nothing to do with the resolution, but we have received correspondence from both O'Connor and Conmee that they would like to have a representative on the board. So I'd like to council to think about that as being a positive. And pardon? Yeah. And to invite them, specifically those two anyway, that are interested to be at the meeting.
They've been quite vocal about this, even during municipal league meetings and that about, that's been brought up, one of the issues.
So, to have one representative, elected representative from each area
Yeah, I don't have a problem
work
with
with
that.
us. One fly here that is just not leaving me alone.
That's good, leaving us alone.
So I got a fly swatter again. So. Okay, so we do have a resolution with the addition of the elected representative, and ask for some discussion.
I just wanted to comment that in this report, it says we had not heard from MTO. Now we have, and we have a confirmed date with them, with the regional director. September 4th, 9 to 10. They've given us an hour or so. We were thinking that we would, this resolution would give the authority to the working group to invite elected representatives of LRMC municipalities. So we intend to do that and ask the MTO, well, we'll kind of advise the MTO, we're bringing along 2 reps from other municipalities. And I think they'll go with it because they'll have more meetings with them unless let's just do it all at once.
Okay, so any further discussion? All in favor, opposed, carried. We have a report in regards to the MTO project, which is to widen to 4 lanes and reroute a portion of Highway 1117, and it's going to end at the village of Pekabeka Falls at this point. And that was just for your information. Yes.
Yeah, just a comment on that, and I appreciate that. I think that could happen if we have 4 lanes, it'd be excellent. The only thing is, remember, if that truck diversion, we lose that and they come down, the people still going to have to try and access that highway where there's 2 lanes or 4 lanes, and it may be a little more difficult to get across the extra lanes from the driveway. So I guess the emphasis is we gotta get those trucks off coming through Kakabeka. But the 4 laning, I think, is an excellent idea.
Yeah. The thing is that this is something they're looking at getting onto some of our properties to do,
Yeah.
do their surveying or whatever. But this thing, it may take, I don't know how many years
That's right.
before it even happens. So this is just a beginning. It's not going to be there in the next 2 or 3 years. Yes.
Previously, the route was to incorporate building a new bridge across the river, was it not? But now they're looking at using the existing.
Well, at this point.
At this point, yes.
Eventually it is to go through 2 new bridges over the Cam River, but I'm sorry, none of us will be sitting at this table when that happens.
We'll be lucky to be sitting here when this happens.
This is what I mean. If you saw how long it took just to get 2 lanes to Kakab or to Thunder Bay, this is going to take a very long time yet. Okay. And then we have some information about the Highway 1117 intersections rehabilitation project at Chippewa Road to north of Balsam Street. And I'm sure that that's going to be very much appreciated by people that use. I think, should that not say Highway 61? Does Chippewa Road come to Highway 1117? Yeah, so there's because when I read it too earlier, I thought about it and I thought, where is that intersection? I can't find it. But yeah, the intersection to at least to Chippewa Road, at Chippewa Road, is on Highway 61. So,
Yeah.
but
In the public notice there.
in regardless, it's just so that we know that their map is not very easy to note things on, but anyway, it's just for our information. And the next thing we have is a road tour. If we have any dates left in October, November, December, we have I believe it was it October or that you were looking at?
One suggestion was October 16th.
16th? I thought it was 17th.
No, 16th or 23rd.
16th?
Oh, then you can be on there the whole day. I can attend till noon hour. I can park my car wherever you're going to stop at lunch and then just leave because I have a meeting. And I'm committed to that meeting since there's only 4 people on there. And if one person doesn't show up, they have to cancel the whole thing. So that was both on the 16th and 17th. I have afternoon meetings.
When you go to the 23rd
I'm
then?
fine. 23rd is fine.
I'm fine.
Okay. And what time would you like us here, Chris?
8 a.m.
8 a.m. No, that's fine. I like that early. Okay, November the 23rd at 8 a.m.
October the 20th.
October, wait a minute, I said, well,
Thinking all those months that we've had all these meetings, sorry, October, it says. here
thank you.
23rd. October 23rd at 8 a.m. Resolution has been moved and seconded. I hope those movers and seconders are happy with the changes.
Yeah.
Counselor This and Counselor Calvert.
Fine.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Now we have the Thunder Bay Services statistics. We did have a discussion with them about that. And they have now given us 6 months, 7 months all at one time, which is kind of interesting to see how the numbers go up and down.
That's good.
Traffic stops a lot, but well, people are speeding.
Should have a lot of domestic issues though. 23 calls of that and a family dispute, 15 I picked up. I said, wow, rough province or municipality we're in.
That's right. And then we have motor vehicle accidents we're at 30. And person welfare, it's unfortunate that that one is so high as well. But get a chance, we'll thank them for doing this because this was much more informative than what we were getting.
Yeah,
So
there was.
It's interesting, they've got municipal bylaws added in there.
occasionally there is a municipal, there are some that,
Supported Larry on a call.
Yeah.
Mhm.
and thankfully, it's only one robbery. Oops, I shouldn't say that out loud. Now somebody wants to make
I
it
was gonna
two.
rob you in the parking lot.
Yes. Let's look at. Okay. Next item you have for reports from committees, which is Stanley Hill Cemetery Board and also the Thunder Bay District Social Services Administration Board. You have any questions on any of those? We now have the bylaws for approval. It's over. We have bylaw, which is the contract with local contractor Superior Inc. for the guide rail replacement. This bylaw has been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. We have the bylaw to contract Air Technology Solutions Canada, Inc. And that is to deal with the diesel exhaust system. Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. And we have the contract for Toromont Caterpillar compactor repairs. It has been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Yes.
Just wondering how that's all going to be covered, the cost, maintenance and things like that, the landfill budget. I know we've got lots of money for revenue, but the costs at the landfill sites have definitely increased, so it's going to be quite a bit, I think, from working funds reserve.
No,
Through
I
the
think
chair-
it's just
Only on
a
this
small amount,
project.
19.
Yeah,
Through the chair, we carried $90,000 in our budget for
Yeah.
capital for this item.
It was 19,000,
Yes.
I think, was coming out of
Yeah.
working
No, no.
funds.
yeah,
Chair, 3,300
3,300, okay, was coming
was
from,
the shortfall on the report.
okay,
yes.
So the operating expenses is not included in this report. We presented it in the 2026 budget.
yes.
Okay.
So it was a very small amount anyway. So this bylaw has been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. And then we have communications, the aerial spraying, glyphosate, SAT, and the family health teams, and exotic wild animal issues. And in asking the CAO, we do have a bylaw that says you're not supposed to have that exotic snake in your living room. And the code of conduct for human trafficking prevention. Thunder Bay Health Unit briefing note for AMO, the TTC subway car agreement, OMAFRA Excellence in Agricultural Awards, the shift, NOMA conference, and Energy pre-engagement confirmation notice. And sorry, the NOMA advances the key priorities at their conference. Any of these that you want to bring up for discussion?
I just wanted to comment that item there, the elemental energy, we had got the pre-engagement confirmation notice at the last meeting. But after that, they sent us a new one because they had added a couple of crown lots.
Okay,
So this, though, is important just to put it on there because they are supposed to do that and they needed to submit them 60 days before the deadline. They go to the IESO October 16th, and they had done that. So they are good. That's one of the things that we need to affirm when we do a resolution to support the project.
so in our having that resolution at the
See.
next meeting gives them enough time to,
Well, I'm just commenting that this was a requirement to get this thing in on time,
Right.
this pre-confirmation
okay,
notice, and they did it, so.
okay. Counselor Peacock?
Do we have anyone to, or is there a nomination process with regard to the agricultural awards? Do we have anyone in our farming community that, are they looking for council to nominate, or is anyone to nominate
No, I-
someone?
I think anyone can nominate someone, right? Yes. It's just telling us, it gives us a heads up that it's there, and I'm sure the agricultural community may have people they want to nominate.
Mhm. And also in our package was the breakdown of the budget from the Thunder Bay District Health Unit with regard to the increases and
Yes.
yeah, so I appreciate.
That schedule that Councillor Peacock's referring to, you'll see that the didn't have the total, but the increase there's a column where you put the provincial funding together, and over the 10-year period, the provincial funding went up 23%. So that's an average of 2.3 a year, whereas the municipal levy went up 3.4%. So when you compound that, it's the issue there is that TBDHU is not as supported as by the province as it is by the municipalities. The burden on the municipalities has been increasing. So that's the message in those numbers.
And I'm thankful that the health units didn't merge, because who knows what those costs could have been incurred that way.
Any discussion on any of the other items that we have? None? Okay. We then move to new business. Councillor Peacock?
Just wanted to congratulate the Merle Fair Group on their recent event. Sounds like it was quite successful. I wasn't able to attend, but the weather definitely cooperated for them. And best of luck to the Rural Heritage people on their event on September the 6th. That's it. Thank you.
Councillor Viss?
Nothing?
Councillor Calvert?
Yeah, I'm on the Thunder Bay District Municipal League. I'm on the conference annual committee that will be, I think it's in Nippigan next March. And what I'm going to be asking for is if municipality could support as one of the sponsors for the coffee breaks, and I'll be bringing that up later on
Okay,
in the future. Yeah.
okay, perfect.
With that, you're included, you do the sponsorship, you get so many free registrations with it as well.
Okay.
So I get something back in return.
Right, okay, perfect. Councillor Campoff is quietly sitting there. Nothing? Okay. Anything further, or Fire Chief? Yes.
Yeah, I just want to add to the grant thing. So I said they're looking at 16,000 per station for this year too. So they've doubled the amount of money, which is very positive. Part of that is there's a definite need for it. So that's positive. It is still the same 4 buckets as last year with the addition of a 5th. So 3 of the 4 buckets were cancer prevention. So it was like minor capital improvements like a shower, diesel exhaust, supplies, bunker gear, cleaning stuff, that kind of thing. There was one bucket last year for broadband improvements. And what they added this year was lithium ion battery equipment. So we are actively working on putting stuff together to put that application in. I will overextend what we're asking for like I did last year. I basically doubled how much they expected us to give. So at 16,000, that's in the neighborhood of 80,000 for our municipality, which is good. Tight timeline again, it's September 30th is when the application has to be in. It's through the T-Pond system. And then we won't know if we're successful until, I think it was like end of December or something, January, when we got word on whether we were successful on the grant money.
It was in 2025. Yeah.
And then the money has to be committed by March 31st and then spent by December 31st. So, well, actually it has to be reported by December, so spent before that. So the money last year, the washroom has been done. Particulate hoods have been ordered and delivered and supplied. And I just have to get the decon equipment and supplies. We're just getting prices to get that for this year's money. And then the second item is that the reorg working group has met twice for the restructuring of the fire department. And we're working diligently through that. So that's a positive thing. And tonight is our first meeting for the Roslyn Station working group.
Okay. Anything, John?
Nope, just getting ready. You have a lot of time with me in the next few months, and
Yeah.
so looking forward to that.
And yes,
Just one further question. Have we heard anything further on the railway fire from billing purposes or?
That's a work in progress. It's gonna be a drawn out process. I need an investigation from the M&R, which is in the works. I need an invoice from the M&R. Given the fire season this year, they are strapped with people to get these things done. So it's a work in progress and it will it's
it'll
gonna
take a
take some
little
time.
while. Yeah. Council, Director of Operations, Chris, and Planning, Carrie? No, nothing. I just had one question, and I'm just going to ask Wayne because we discussed it. Did we not receive a letter asking if we wanted to have another meeting with the police chief?
We were gonna bring that to the next meeting.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
we'll chat with them.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, they had said they would want to have another meeting, open meeting like we had in Roslyn. Okay. To the next meeting? Okay, I just didn't want to, I didn't want it to fall down because I know we're interested and I had suggested that we do it in Murillo this time if it works out.
I forgot, how is the ice doing at the Norwest, the new plant? Slippery, eh? Good, nice.
Yes, they're using it every day right now for the little kids, so young kids.
Right? Yeah.
Perfect.
Good
How
to hear.
about that electric? We won't ask that question. All righty.
Zamboni?
That's the question.
Oh.
No questions.
But when we watch Olympics, we can have pride knowing that Zamboni was supposed to have been delivered here.
Our Zamboni went to the Olympics.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a priority.
Well, when this one breaks down, we won't care much about where it went.
Run up and down the ice.
We
could get it wrapped or something
Yeah,
first, eh?
exactly. Or was back on the side.
Yeah, we don't want to use, we don't want to use one. Okay, we now resolve to go to closed session. We have had a resolution that has been moved and seconded, the time being 11:38 a.m. in order to go into in camera. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. We will now take a 5-minute break.
Didn't make it, I thought you were gonna make it.
That was a wrong. Yes.
Session back into a regular meeting. We have a resolution that needs to be closed session meeting held on August the fifth. Oh, I'm sorry. We have a resolution that's been moved and seconded that the minutes of the closed session meeting held on August the fifth be approved. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. We have a resolution moved and seconded to confirm the meeting as it has taken place today. All in favor? Approved. And lastly, we have a resolution to adjourn the meeting, the time being 12:30 PM, because it says AM here, PM. The resolution has been moved and seconded. All in favor? I just want to see one day when someone says I'm not in favor of that.